Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Kuntz, and this is my Module 8 case study, Get This Child Out of My Room. The case study summary is, we're at a rural school. There's a new special ed teacher. It's her first year, and she's dealing with an experienced teacher who has been around for a while, is well liked, but she's experiencing some troubles with a student. There have been problems arising specifically due to the student's behavior. The problem includes the student, some staff, as well as the parents. There has been a parent meeting called. They've tried to talk about some changes that could be made to the IEP. The parents are in a bad personal situation where they're not getting along due to a recent divorce, and resolution is needed quickly. The problem identification and analysis for Category 1. What do I know? First, I know we have a student in the school that is having a hard time. I know that he comes from a home where his parents are recently divorced, and there is a lot of animosity. During the parent meeting that was called, words were exchanged, and obviously you can tell that the parents are not on the same page. We have an experienced teacher that is, again, well liked and actually knew exactly what to say to the parents when she explained about their darling son. She's been working for 10 years, and she seems to be having issues with the student, but had also a little bit of issue with the new special education teacher, because she has suggested that the new special education teacher do the things that the old teacher did. And as this is the special education teacher's first year, she understands that there are some big shoes to fill, and that she needs to figure out how to help the student quickly. What I need to know is how much of this teacher's complaints actually have a basis. How much behavior is really happening in the classroom? Is the teacher following the behavior plan that is already in place for the student? Also, good information would be to know what types of services the student is receiving, and any other available resources that could be helpful to the student. Does a student need to be reevaluated? We know that previously he's had an evaluation due to behavior, but is there some emotional things happening now with this new divorce? We know it's only been 3 months, and that things have escalated since then. His older siblings have some emotional issues, and so does the student need to be reevaluated? That's something really to look at. And then the last thing I need to know is, how can I best support the students and the staff? To me, the problem is clear. I have a student and a teacher that need immediate help. The student needs help because he's obviously having a hard time, and we need to find the best possible solution to support him. And the teacher needs to feel supported because obviously she needs some help in her classroom. Category 2, my proposed plan of action with the strategies I suggest for implementation. My first step would be to review the policy. It's very important to follow policy, as we all know. It's important that as the new teacher, the new special education teacher, that would review the IEP to make sure that everything in the IEP is being followed. And then after reviewing policy, to determine what proper steps and procedures need to happen in order to change the IEP. Yes, we do have parent signatures, and now we need to just make sure we follow through. Next, the second step would be to create a new behavior plan. We have signed permission from the parents. It's important that we get that taken care of. So first, we look at what kind of goals do we need to set so that the student can have success and the teacher can feel supported. Second, we need to determine any rewards and consequences, because his previous plan has worked fairly well with rewards and consequences. And then as a new special education teacher, I would suggest contacting the district special education coordinator to make sure that the steps of the behavior plan look solid before moving any further. Once that has been agreed upon, I would next meet with the teacher to discuss the new plan, including the steps as well as the consequences and the rewards. I would discuss the way that to help the teacher implement the new plan, and then I would explain the way that the teacher could report on how the plan is working and how we would report the consequences and/or the needed rewards for the student's behavior. My fourth step would be to communicate the decision to all parties. First, to the assistant superintendent, since that's the administrator that's been contacted according to this issue. I would then communicate the plan to the parents, letting them know that, thank you for your permission and letting us make the changes that are right for your son here at school. And then we would communicate the decision to the student so that the student was understood clearly what the expectations are and what the steps of the new behavior plan are. My fifth plan of action would be to then evaluate the plan. Is it working? I would not just ask the teacher, but I would also encourage special education teacher to go into the classroom, observe the student behavior, observe the steps of the program. Is it being followed? And then also, as part of that evaluation, explore additional avenues that may need to be explored, such as a reevaluation for the student, such as perhaps different services that we could provide for the student as needed. And also, is it really not a good fit for this student to be in this classroom? And if not, can we find another placement for him, like a different classroom placement? Category 3, resolving the issues based on promoting the success of all the students. Step 1 of my plan was to review policy. When we follow approved policy, it absolutely promotes student success. Metter states, make sure you always follow your school district's policies and procedures. Never act outside of these guidelines that are set for you. And the second quote by Metter says the same thing, but basically, if you don't know what you're doing or you're unsure of something, ask someone who does. So that's why it's important to keep the special education coordinator as well as the administrator in the loop. Step 2 was to create the new behavior plan, and choosing what is best for students like the new behavior plan helps to promote student success. Teachers act as the fulcrum that balances the concerns of parents and students and also the educational welfare of the entire class. And this teacher in this situation, by having a new behavior plan in place, can act as that fulcrum so that we can best meet the needs of all students in the classroom. My third step to meet with the teacher promotes student success because communication with teachers is key. Teachers that participated in a study provided insight as to which forms of support they valued most from their principals. All areas of support were considered important. However, the area of emotional and environmental support were rated the highest. And this we've seen in several instances where this is really important. The teacher needs to understand that their concern has been heard and that we are trying to work with the teacher to promote their success as well as student success. The fourth step of my plan was to communicate the decision to all the parties, the parents, the special education coordinator, the supervisor, the teacher, as well as the student. And this effective communication helps promote the student's success. Complaints can escalate rapidly unless they are well managed. This includes the complaint of the teacher to the special education teacher. This includes any student complaints as well as any parent complaints. We understand that it's important to communicate, and by keeping this communication open and free with all parties, it lets them understand that their concerns are being handled. My last step, evaluating the plan, promotes student success. Research on ongoing teacher support notes that teachers who receive on-the-job support, guidance, and feedback from supervisor or a trained support person apply new skills and strategies more frequently and appropriately and adopt a more diverse range of instructional practices than teachers who do not receive such supports. So by supporting the teacher and then following up with the teacher through the evaluation of the plan, it lets them know that they are supported, and when teachers feel supported, they work better, they're more willing to apply the new skills, and they're more willing to adopt things like the new behavior plan. Category 4, debriefing the problem. What I was thinking was, we need a new plan. If this plan isn't working, let's get a new plan, and it needs to be done quickly. I also was wondering what kind of additional supports can we provide the teacher as well as the student. I was feeling worried because the student and the teacher are obviously both suffering. I was also feeling that this isn't just a one-size-fits-all problem, right? Not one solution will fix it. It's a complex situation with the parent dynamic, the student dynamic, and the teacher dynamic. And those are all important pieces to take into account while handling the issue. What I was valuing are the relationships between staff, between students and staff, between parents and staff, and parents and student. All of those relationships are important in supporting the entire educational process. And I'm also valuing student success. It's important that, again, any changes that need to be made are made quickly so that this student can succeed and feel supported as well. Things that are open to further investigation are, first, what can be done to encourage further teacher development? What more can be done to help support this teacher? Because this is probably not the only student that's going to have a behavior intervention plan in this teacher's classroom. The second thing to investigate would be to discuss how we can best serve the needs of all students. And that includes implementing behavior plans, perhaps looking at placement and services that can be provided. And the last step would be, how can we help the teacher to repair staff relations between this experienced classroom teacher and the first-year special ed teacher? Those relationships need to be strengthened so that they can continue to work together effectively in the future. Category 5, my reflection. Component 1, my effective multifaceted plan promotes the academic success of every student by building relationships with the staff as the administrator and the staff, as well as within the staff, between our staffs. It also promotes success by nurturing the culture of learning and high expectations, and then monitoring and evaluating the impact of this intervention program. Component 2, my effective multifaceted plan promotes the personal well-being of every student by keeping the parents informed, improving staff and student relations, and placing the children at the center of education. Component 3, my effective multifaceted plan enhances instructional capacity by opening up more effective communication channels between all of the parties I've talked about. It also promotes professional norms. It models good professionalism as well as behavior. And it strengthens relationships between the parties, again mentioned before, as well as building trust and credibility for all parties. Thank you so much for watching my case study. Thank you.